James Cook just signed a massive deal with the Buffalo Bills. We'll tell you what that means for his dynasty value next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner, so visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. You can also check me out over on the Locked On Cowboys podcast. And joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. And on today's show, we've got a jam-packed show. We've got some mailbag questions. But first, when we woke up Fabs this morning, we got some big news in the NFL. James Cook signed a 4-year deal with the Buffalo Bills that's going to pay him $12 million a year, $30 million guaranteed, which is way more than what like Josh Jacobs got a year ago. How does this impact James Cook's dynasty value now that he's all the way down to RB20?
Well, first off, before we get into that, you guys should be changing the name of the Cowboys podcast to the Soap Opera podcast because Jerry Jones is running a soap opera over there. By his own admission, I'm not going to get mad. Now, this is good. I think some people out there who were drafting were starting to get a little squirrely about James Cook because of the contract situation, but now he's under contract until 2030. He'll be 26 next month, but he hasn't had a lot of wear and tear. He's only had 630 touches in the NFL. And in terms of touches last year, Marcus, he was 22nd. So, and he did not play a featured role in college either. So James Cook has got plenty of gas left in the tank. Let's just put it that way. So now you feel comfortable drafting him. He's in the prime of his career. He's in a great offense. I understand touchdown regression is coming. It's coming back to the mean. He's not scoring 18 touchdowns this season, folks. But can he get 10 or 12? Yeah, absolutely. In that offense, no question about that. I'm not significantly concerned about Ray Davis taking a boatload of touches. And when you look now at where Cook's ADP is, and I think this is probably going to start to correct now that he is signed. Marcus, we talked about this before we went on the air. There are several running backs that are going ahead of him right now. He's the RB20. What? It's crazy town. There are players like Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey going ahead of him. Quinshon Judkins. I don't even know if he's going to play football this season. He is very undervalued right now in Dynasty.
100% agree. I've been saying this for the last 2 months on this podcast. His ADP continued to drop. And I'm not really sure why. Like, I think we all knew that James Cook was going to sign an extension with the Bills, right? Like, they never were going to trade him. They weren't going to let him just play out the last year of his deal on his rookie contract. So I'm not sure why he's dropped that low. I've been aggressively drafting him. You mentioned the touches, 630 touches in the NFL. I look at someone like Travion Henderson, who had 630 touches in college, right? You mentioned James Cook's college work, only 200 touches coming out of college. So, I mean, you're under 1,000 total touches, so far in his career. He's got a lot of wear and tear left on his body. And I like that the Buffalo Bills signed him to a 4-year deal, because that means that for his prime of his career, he's going to be in Buffalo playing with Josh Allen in one of the league's best offenses. And yeah, he might not get the touch total that some of the other running backs get ahead of him, but he's going to catch a bunch of passes. He's going to be in line to get a lot of goal line work. I think James Cook is a screaming value. And I was telling you pre-show, like, I would be very aggressive here. Like, I'm looking at names like Breece Hall, RB8, Travion Henderson, RB10, Derrick Henry, RB12. I would just take James Cook ahead of all those guys.
He is certainly a value right now. And listen, he's not going to be Thurman Thomas. Okay. We understand that, but we know that he's going to be the top running back in a Buffalo offense that will have Josh Allen for as long as James Cook is there. And that's also big. And when you get late into the season and it's December and you're in Buffalo and bring out the NFL Films music with the snow and the cold, I mean, you're going to want to run the football. And James Cook proved that he's an explosive player last year. Several of his touchdowns were on big plays. And I like Ray Davis. I think he's a talented kid. I just don't see him putting a significant dent into James Cook's touches. And the Bills just committed a whole bunch of dead presidents to this kid. They're going to feed him.
Did you see the story from Wednesday morning that Ray Davis dropped 12 pounds? He's down to 208. He said he said he was a bruiser last year. Now he wants to be a little quicker, more explosive. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know.
Well, I mean, listen, here's the bad thing. James Cook is ahead of you on the depth chart. So you got to worry about that first and foremost.
One other running back I wanted to mention before we kind of move on to some other stories around the league. Breece Hall was talking about the James Cook and Kyron Williams deal today. He was in that same draft class, I believe, right? The 2022 draft. Talking about how, hey, those guys have been in better situations and they put up better numbers, but I feel like I'm more talented than all of them. Paraphrasing a little bit here. If Breece Hall were to get that same deal with the Jets, would that improve his dynasty value, or is this completely dependent on the situation here?
No, the money talks, brother. I mean, that's an old saying from a long, long time ago. If you pay a guy like that, he's going to get the football. And until we see Breece Hall get his contract of some substance, I think we are all being honest in that we're worried about Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis taking touches. We saw it in the first week of the preseason. Is this going to be a committee scenario with Breece Hall leading the committee, but still being a committee scenario? We've talked about how the Lions coaches have come over and now they are the Jets coaches, and they had Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, again, two superior backs. And I don't think the Jets have that. I think Breece Hall is closer to David Montgomery than he is to Jahmyr Gibbs from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
And also you have to think about this. I mean, if the Jets don't want to pay Breece Hall, they have two dudes waiting in the wings where they can run a committee with those two guys into 2026 if they want to. So they're in a little bit better situation. They have a little bit of leverage because honestly, I mean, if there was a situation where Breece Hall was unhappy with his deal and the Jets could be like, well, okay, we'll move on to the guys behind you. We'll be good to go. And also remember, fair or not, NFL teams don't value running backs as much as they used to.
There used to be a guy that started this website called runningbacksdon'tmatter.com. He eventually got a podcast here in the Locked On Podcast Network. But I do think that Breece Hall is in a different situation than that. We'll see. He's somebody that I've just been fading all off season. But if he gets up that big contract and the Jets are guaranteeing him that much money, I do think we need to change our opinion a little bit there. So this is where in Dynasty Leagues, it's good to be flexible. We'll see if we get any news on Breece Hall before the year starts. All right, let's talk about some other newsworthy items across the NFL, including, are you buying the hype on Isaac TeSlaa from the Detroit Lions? We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or if you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. Maybe you think this is the year that Joe Burrow, who had an MVP caliber season last year, finally gets it. Or maybe you're going to crown a champ. Or maybe you think the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East because nobody wins the NFC East 2 years in a row. Go visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Fabs, we had quite a few people asking us for our opinion on Isaac TeSlaa, the Lions receiver who they traded up for. They gave up a lot of capital to go get TeSlaa. He's been awesome in training camp. He's been good in the preseason. What are your thoughts kind of on his long-term prospects here?
So first off, is it TeSlaa or is it TeSlaa? Because he's got the two A's.
Sure.
I think it looks cool. I mean, I wish my name was Michael TeSlaa instead of Fabiano.
Cool.
All right, no, I'm kidding. But no, he's been good. A couple of catches, 3 targets, 18 yards and touchdown. in the preseason game. He, showed some people a little bit of something there. As we look at the Hall of Fame game, he has built a good rapport with Kyle Allen. Now, does he have that same kind of rapport with Jared Goff? We're not really sure at this point. He's a big target at 6'4" and 214. He's really athletic. And Detroit could have an opening for him at some point in the future because Tim Patrick is currently slated as a starter, but he's a free agent after the season. So it's going to be Amon-Ra. It's going to be Jameson. We know that. And then Tim Patrick will be the starter. Those will be the top 3 wide receivers. With TeSlaa, I don't know how to say it. I'm just saying it because it's just fun to say. As the 4th guy potentially. And if Tim Patrick gets hurt, and Tim Patrick, let's be honest, is, had some issues in terms of his health, knee injuries and the such over his career, then TeSlaa could end up being a starter. In Dynasty, should he be drafted? Absolutely yes. No doubt about that. Now, in redrafts, I'm not going to suggest that he is a must draft in the late rounds, depending on the size of your league. Maybe he will be, maybe he won't be. But I do like the fact that there's an opening for him to potentially be a starter for the Lions as soon as next year, unless injuries occur in 2025.
Do you think the Lions traded up for TeSlaa to be like a Jameson Williams safety blanket, basically? Like, hey, if Jameson can't stay healthy, or if he's inconsistent, or if we just feel like we don't want to give him a long-term deal, this is the guy that we're kind of keeping behind him just in case? Or do you think the plan really is to have all 3 of these guys on the field at one time?
No, I mean, listen, having an insurance policy is never a bad thing, but, JMO's been more healthy than not over the last couple of years. I mean, obviously he had the suspension a few years ago. He had the major injury in his final season in college, but I don't know that they're concerned so much about health. But I mean, look at the depth, or maybe the lack thereof, that the Lions have at wide receiver. You've got, Khalif Raymond is there. You got Ronnie Bell. You got Malik Taylor. Dominic Lovett, not John Lovett, Dominic Lovett. By the way, I didn't play golf with John Lovett when I was out in California at one point, but I was on the driving range with him and had a conversation with him.
There you go.
Seemed like a pretty good dude. Whatever.
Very important information.
Name drop Fabiano, jerk. But they don't have a lot of depth at wide receiver, Marcus. And so, I'm not surprised that they brought this kid in, and obviously they liked him enough to trade up for him. And he's an intriguing prospect from a dynasty perspective. No doubt about that.
So wide receiver 86. I have a feeling that's going to really change over the next 2 weeks once we have a little bit more preseason action. We've seen a couple trades, and I want you to kind of get your thoughts here. But before we do that, where would you value him? I'm going to give you a range.
Okay.
We have Jalen Noel, Cedric Tillman, Alec Pierce, Xavier Legette. Those guys are all going in the wide receiver 60 range. Yep. Is that too high?
A little bit too high for me.
Okay.
Although I don't know that I wouldn't take him over Pierce.
Okay.
I'd probably still want Legette ahead of him, but I don't know that I'd be adverse to taking him over Pierce at this point. But again, it's 2 preseason games. Let's see what happens. But he is starting to push up a little bit. Sure.
A couple other guys, Pat Bryant for the Broncos, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Royals. Those are wide receivers 67, 68, 69.
I'd rather have those guys probably over.
Okay.
Maybe not Royals, but he's in that ballpark. Yes.
Okay. So we think rather than being in the wide receiver 86 range, he should be in the wide receiver 70 range.
Yes.
The most common trade that has happened over the last 2 days has been Isaac TeSlaa for a 2026 second round pick. That's happened multiple times.
Wow.
Does that seem aggressive for you?
Yes. Yeah. Second round time. That does seem aggressive to me. Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt about that. Yep.
Third rounder is where I would be interested. Second round.
Yes.
It's just too much. It's too much for an offense where you already know they want to run the ball.
Hey, brother, there are already 4 or 5 guys ahead of him on the depth chart.
Yes.
It's
too much.
David Montgomery, Laporta, the 2 wide receivers. So that there's plenty of guys that are going to eat in that Lions offense before TeSlaa.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I had to get that in there one last time.
All right. Another thing that came out on Tuesday night was that Greg Roman said, hey, even if Najee Harris isn't ready for week 1, by the way, Najee Harris actually did participate in some on-field drills with a visor, so we couldn't see anything on his face, but did participate in some drills. It's not clear whether he's going to be ready for the season or not, but Greg Roman says that they're going to use a running back by committee approach with Omarion Hampton. Not sure who that other running back is going to be yet. Don't cover your eyes yet, Fabs.
I'm just saying, like, if you're watching on YouTube, I mean, okay.
Do you think Greg Roman's telling the truth here?
Historically, this has not been the case for his offenses. Now, has an old dog learned a new trick? Maybe, right? So let's go back historically. Last year, J.K. Dobbins, when he was healthy, was the lead dude.
He was the guy. Yep.
He was the guy. But I mean, the Chargers didn't really. I mean, you have Gus Edwards and Vidal Sassoon behind him. Sorry, I got to bring that up. Kamani Vidal. You guys know what I'm talking about. So there wasn't a lot there. In 2022, his last year in Baltimore, he had J.K., but J.K. missed half of the season because of injury, and it was Kenyon Drake, who led that. Remember him? He actually had some pretty decent years. Fantasy. Yeah. But neither one of those guys was even in the top 40 among running backs. The year before that, again, the Ravens did not have good running backs. It was Devontae Freeman, who was like on his last legs, and Latavius Murray. Freeman finished 31st in fantasy points among running backs. Year before that, it was J.K. He played 15 games that year. He and Gus Edwards both finished in the top 40. J.K. was at RB24. Then when we go back to his first year in Baltimore, he had Mark Ingram, boom, RB11. And really no one was close to him. It was Gus Edwards, who was RB52. Then you go back to Buffalo. His final year in Buffalo, LaShawn McCoy was the RB4, and he dominated the touches. Mike Gillislee, you remember him? Was a distant second. Yeah. It was a distant second. The first year in Buffalo, LaShawn McCoy missed 4 games. He didn't have a great year, but he was the RB19, and they had Carlos Williams was the RB2.
Florida State.
But again, Williams did not eat into LaShawn's touches when LaShawn was healthy. Last year in San Francisco, Carlos Hyde and Frank Gore were the 2 backs. Gore was the lead back, and Hyde did not put much of a dent into his touches. And over the previous 3 years, all in San Francisco, Frank Gore was the lead back. When healthy, he was the lead back. 282 touches or carries in 2011, 258 in 2012. He had 276 carries in 2013. He had 255 carries in 2014. You get my drift.
I do.
So is there a world where, and this might be, and by might be, I'm saying it is, the best duo of running backs that Greg Roman has ever had at the same time in the same season on the same team?
So that's
do you draft Omarion Hampton and put him behind Najee Harris and in the committee?
No.
I don't think so.
My thought is, I think early on in the season, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get Omarion Hampton off the field of like passing downs, because Joe Alt's going to be playing left tackle. We'll see what the offensive line looks like. Get somebody in there that can pass block a little bit better, but it's going to be Omarion Hampton. And then once Najee Harris gets back, maybe that's when we see it become more of a committee. But I think when it comes to actually running the ball, you're just going to see Hampton. He's just so much more talented than any other running back on this team. Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh can talk about being a committee, but if you're clearly taking a better player off the field for a lesser player, I don't buy that.
So just looking at the data, if you go back to 2011, Frank Gore had 282 carries and Kendall Hunter had 112. Okay. And again, that's a 16-game season. So I could see that kind of, Hampton's more of the 250-ish. And then Najee's more in the 120s, 130s. But Najee will probably be utilized a little bit more in the passing game. Both players are good pass catchers.
Yeah.
So maybe that closes the gap a little bit. But I would be shocked, no pun intended, if Omarion Hampton is not the lead back at the end of the season for the Los Angeles Lightning Bolts.
There you go.
And
I like their new jerseys, by the way.
I love everything about the Chargers jerseys. Everything except for the yellow uniforms. I don't like that. Yellow doesn't work for me. I'm not a big fan of the like a yellow jersey. I mean, that not my thing. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But I think Najee will have a role. Is it a 60-40 role? Is it a 70-30 role, 65-45 role, or 65-35 role? I kind of tend to think it'll be something like that, where Hampton will be the guy. Najee will get his, but I don't see a scenario where this is a 50-50. And oh, by the way, if a healthy Najee Harris goes into week 1 for the Chargers, well, holy cow, I'm a little bit more worried about Laddie Daddy than I would have been before.
No, I'm not at all.
Now you got Keenan Allen there.
Najee's not good. Like, that's the thing. Najee's not a good football player.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying, listen, Najee Harris, I will say this, Marcus, when Najee Harris signed with the Chargers, if they didn't draft Omarion Hampton, we'd be talking about Najee Harris being a top 20 running back in fantasy this season.
Yeah, but that'd be a mistake because he's just not a good player. So I don't stress out about that.
The hatred, my friend. Let the hate flow through you.
That's all right. I've seen him enough to know that he's just a very average NFL.
So his rookie year was a complete, total.
Yes, it was mostly just based on volume and not efficiency. So, all right. Let's change topics a little bit. I don't want to get you too fired up about the Chargers on a random Wednesday, but let's talk about how do you get more trades in your dynasty leagues. We'll discuss that and more next. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, Fabs and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they've just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. And with the new season right around the corner, now is the time to gather up your league mates and give this new mode a try. And if you're into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues, or you can join a public league. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. NFL fantasy draft season is here, so make your second listen the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast with hosts Vinny Iyer and Kate Majuk. Listen every day to prep for your fantasy draft and become the most informed manager so you can take home your league's trophy this season. Find Locked On Fantasy Football on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Fabs, we're talking Dynasty here, but I want to talk about how do you get more trades in your Dynasty League. I had a listener reach out this week and said, hey, we only have 1 or 2 trades that happen every year in our Dynasty League. How do we encourage people to trade more?
First off, I don't know that a leopard changes his spots, right? So if you're already the type of fantasy owner who doesn't like to trade, chances are you're not going to change. I love trading. I always say, if you're not trading, you're not trying. I'm in leagues where literally like trades happen every week. And I'm not going to name drop, but like it's a lot of my, my athlete buddies, my celebrity. Yeah. We love to make trades. It's so much fun. It's almost as fun as a draft. Sometimes it's even more fun than the draft. I love making trades. I want people to make offers to me all the time. 80% of them, I'll probably be like, are you on crack? Like what? Like, do you know who you're talking to here? I try to do something like that and intimidate them with my vast fantasy knowledge and experience. But like, you could shame them into maybe starting to make trades, but it all depends on, your league mates. And when you start a league, you want to make sure that you have people in the league who are kind of like you and they want to make trades, and they are always interactive. They are always involved. They're always engaged in what's going on in the league, whether it's making ad drops, whether it's setting your lineup correctly, making sure that your bye-week quarterback is not starting in your lineup, and making trades. There was and I will say this, and maybe I'm going to come off as a jerk here. I was in a dynasty league for like 2 years, And I would send trade offers out and I would never get a response. Never to anything. And I told the commissioner of the league, who's a friend of mine, I'm like, listen, bro, I'm freaking out. This league stinks. Like, I send out trade offers all the time and nobody responds to me. And I'm not offering them, James Cook for the 5th string running back in New Orleans. Like, I'm not.
Right.
And I hated it and I dropped out. And, people were like, oh, Fabiano, why'd you drop out? I don't want to play in a league where I'm not having fun, especially when there may or may not be some dough involved. So I think if you're starting a league, you need to know the tendencies of your league mates, and you need to make sure, hey guys, even if you're not going to trade every week like Fabiano does, like, you're not a maniac, at least make sure that you're being proactive in that you're responding and saying, no, I'm good. Or maybe sending a counter offer. Like, that's all part of the fun. See, I think I could run the New York Yankees better than Brian Cashman. I'm telling you right now. I think I really could. Okay. I'm telling, and I know I could run the Cowboys better than either one of those Jones morons. All right. I could tell you that too. I would love it. And I think trading is a big part of it. So make sure you know who your league mates are when you're creating a league, when you're starting a league. And if there's a couple of people in the league who aren't really like big into trading, I mean, okay, that's all right. But for the most part, make sure people are engaged. Make sure that people are at least responding to trade offers, even if they decline them. And get people to counter offer. Have some fun with it. It's one of the most enjoyable parts of fantasy sports.
A couple things that I can offer as well. I've been in a lot of these dynasty leagues. We had a league that traded 292 times last year.
Oh my God. I love that league. Wait,
so
292 times?
And here's the secret to that league, honestly.
Crap.
And I know this is not realistic for every league, but all 12 people live in the same town, right? So we're getting together, watching games on Sunday night, Monday night. And when you see these guys in real life, it's just easier to get trades done because you can kind of go back and forth. So if you can try to get together, and I know it's not possible, but once a month, whatever, just to kind of chat with some of your league mates, that will help. I got another thing. I write down in a book right here every trade that I do, because that way you can kind of understand what people like in trades. Some guys,
oh my God, you are a maniac and a man after my own heart.
That's why I host the Dynasty podcast. There's some people in your league will never do the trade where you're trading 2 good guys for a stud, right? They just don't believe in that, but they might be willing to do the opposite, right? Another thing that I would say is you can always, if you use the trade block, that does seem like it helps a little bit, guys that are clearly available. And one last thing, this is for a dynasty league that I've done for a long time. We always give out a extra 4th round rookie pick. So nothing super valuable, but valuable to the commissioner that completes the most trades in a year, right?
The commissioner or the player?
The manager. The commissioner hands out that completes the most trades. Okay. So again, is a 4th round pick a big deal? No, it's not going to change the power of your league, but it does give you a little bit more incentive to try to make some roster moves. So that's just a couple of things to try if your league doesn't have it.
It'd be a fun thing to do. Oh, it's completely not fair, but still, life's not fair. How about the team that has the fewest amount of trades every season has to do the draft the following year while sitting in like a dog crate?
Or whatever
like
you want to do.
Some kind of punishment, nothing crazy, but like some kind of punishment.
Well, and I will say
hilarious.
The first thing you said, like if it's clear in your leagues that you have 1 or 2 managers that just aren't very active, have a chat with them or find somebody else, because the worst thing in the world is having that absent manager that doesn't check their lineups, that doesn't respond to trade offers. Try to get those guys out of your league, but otherwise try some of those tips. It might help you out.
Yep.
There you go.
Love it. I absolutely love it. Trading is part of the fun, folks.
Yeah.
Get on the bandwagon.
All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Go download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. We will see you right back here on Thursday.